This is Don't Fear Grit with Rob Taormina. Marketing strategies and advertising technologies to help you build a better business.
Welcome to episode 2 of Don't Fear Grit. I'm your host, Rob Taormina, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing of the brand new Sony a7 III. And right to my left, your right, guys, is a special guest to help me do this unboxing, Director of Photography from TalkIQ Media, Mark Eternal. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, Rob? What's going on, everyone? Pretty excited to get this box open and see what's inside. As Rob mentioned, we got the Sony a7 III in here, which has some phenomenal specs from what I've been reading, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it.
Yeah, every so often there is a photographic product that hits the market that literally just like turns everything upside down. Like every person in the industry sort of just pauses and it really grabs their attention because it really is something that could change their service, change how they approach photography. And I really confidently believe that this product is one of those products. We haven't seen a product like this hit the market to upset everything in quite a while. So to be able to have this in front of us, to do the unboxing and to do the review as part of this show is pretty exciting. This particular show, if you're not listening to the podcast and you're watching the video portion of the show, this show is filmed on the Sony a7S II right now. Which is sort of the predecessor to this camera here.
The generation, yes.
As far as the generations are concerned. So, you know, we have done a lot of our projects over the past year or so on the Sony a7S II. So we're going to be doing a lot of our comparisons to that particular camera. But I know you shoot a different camera as well. So we offer a really diverse sort of perspective on comparisons to the brand new Sony a7 III to various types of cameras that photographers and videographers are using in the marketplace right now. So I know you guys are not tuning in to just listen to us talk. You want to see the product. So I think we should just dive right in, if it's all right.
Open her up.
Let's open it up. I'm going to do the honors. I sort of already just cut open the box to make it a little bit easier for the show. But I promise, as you can see by the bubble wrap, I really haven't done anything outside of that. So this is my first time. I'm like a Sony a7 III virgin, you know. So bubble is out, and yeah, I mean this is like Christmas. I mean, to people that are in the industry, to people who are professional videographers and photographers, or video marketers, or photo marketers, this is like Christmas. You know what I mean? And so this is a April Christmas for us right now, which is pretty cool. But I'll let you sort of like take over from here and tell me exactly. Like we're going to dissect everything. We're going to tell you everything that's in the box, and then as we're talking, we're going to share what we're already noticing right off the bat. Some of the differences, and weight could be a difference. And now listen, for someone who's in the field, weight when it comes to cameras is a big deal.
Oh yeah.
Right? I know some of the heavy hitters, you're going to have some of these heavier based models, and it's necessary for certain type of shoots. But to be more mobile, and especially for some of the shoots that we do, we like to be compact. We like to limit the size and weight of our gear because we're gonna be mobile throughout the entire day.
And
so
not even just that, but certain stabilizers and gimbals that you would use for video actually do have weight limits in themselves as well. So, you know, using a bigger camera like my Nikon with bigger batteries, you know, if depending on other accessories you're using on it in terms of lenses and whatnot, you're pushing it more and more and more towards that weight limit on those gimbals, such as the Ronin M or the Xenon Crane. And you know, compact camera like this gives you the best of both worlds. High performance, compact, lightweight. I mean, let's just open her up here right now.
Yeah. So here's the box, as you can see right there. And we'll open it up towards you guys. And you got, of course, like every other, unboxing, you've got all the manuals. Quick start guide, some advertisements, warranties, reference guide, the guides in a lot of different languages, which is helpful. Not for me, I only speak English myself. I don't know about you. I wish I spoke multiple languages, but these guides are definitely here and are helpful. And then sort of the platform.
Let's.
We sort of like remove the platform. Wait a minute. All right, go ahead. You could do your thing.
We have the A7 camera strap. So when
yes, we spent all the money just for the strap.
You're out and about shooting, everyone's going to say, "Oh, hey, he's got an A7."
Yeah, yeah. If you want to make the statements like us. So, but anyway, here's a strap that you probably won't use. You probably have straps that you are used to that you prefer. And as we continue,
that's this right here.
You don't have to do a lot of digging before you get to the real prize, which is the body itself.
So just notice how nicely it's packed in there.
Yep.
All the compartments are exact fit, and it's wrapped in protective wrapping.
So
actually,
this is the first. This is the first time. Was the first time good for you too?
Oh, it was great.
So here's the body. It's very similar, almost identical to the prior generations, like the A7S II. And I'm going to hand it off to Mark and let him just sort of go to town on it. And what are some of the things that you're noticing right off the bat?
So right off the bat, having used a lot of camera systems before, including my Nikon D750, as well as the Sony A7S II, Sony A7S, Sony A7 II, so on and so forth. It's nice and compact. It has great ergonomics. I actually think Sony improved for this model the ergonomics in terms of the grip and the sizing. It doesn't feel like it's, it needs a grip like some of the other Sony cameras have for me. Also right off the bat, extremely light, weighing in at 1.43 pounds for the body, which is beautiful. Nice and thin as well. Sony achieves this by going mirrorless. So whereas your standard camera would have a mirror that reflects the image up into your viewfinder, Sony eliminates the mirror, mirrorless camera, and has a beautiful OLED electronic viewfinder. So what you see in the screen of the viewfinder itself is actually identical to what you would see on this approximately 3-inch articulating back touchscreen that folds out actually like this.
Now I know this camera doesn't have, let's say, all the features of like the A9, right? But then again, unless you're a professional photographer and you're shooting like billboards where you need the 42 megapixel sensor, this thing is perfect.
Well, I mean, to be quite honest, I've shot a billboard before with 24 megapixel camera, my Nikon D750. You can do it. Yes, having more megapixels for something of that size will come in handy, but you can do it. I mean, if you think back to the old days before they had cameras that had sensors that went above 8 megapixels, they were using them for billboards and advertising. So, I mean, we are used to a certain level of clarity and quality nowadays, because of the luxuries of technology. But you really could do a lot with this camera. And that is one thing I should note as well, is that this camera is 24 megapixels, just like my D750. The starting price of this camera was $1998 from B&H Photo, which actually is comparable to the price of the Nikon D750 when it was first released for the body only, but packs a ton more features. Now, another great highlight of this camera is that it features 693 hybrid autofocus points.
That's huge.
Which is almost slightly less by a couple, but almost 300 more focus points than the A7R3, which is actually priced about
more expensive
$800 to $900 more expensive than this body. So this already, you're going to have an edge. And if I remember correctly, it's about 93% of the sensor is actually covered with autofocus points, which is amazing. Best in its class, honestly.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, if you're a photographer, no, if you're a videographer and you shoot individuals, if you're shooting people, if you're shooting any interview style, moving individuals, this is definitely going to be the thing that you want right here. I mean, because the autofocus is like insanely
even
fast.
As a photographer.
And it shoots 4K.
Yep, it does shoot 4K internal. But even as a photographer, this is a great camera for that, because if you think about it, how many times on a Nikon system or another camera system that center weights your focus points more, do you wish, okay, I could pull them out to the side, or I could focus on their eye a little more up without changing the perspective? It gives you much more flexibility. And, I mean, this could be the D750 killer. This is what the D750 did a couple of years ago. When it came in, it shook up the game. Had wedding guys that were shooting D800s, D810s, switching now to a D700 series camera because it had a better autofocus system, better contrast, just overall better, newer.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. So one of my friends who is a professional videographer, literally just 2 days ago, he took all of his gear. Now he's a Canon guy. He was a Canon guy through and through. Every single piece of his equipment, right? He took up every single body, every lens, everything, and he went to B&H and he literally traded it in for all Sony stuff.
I don't blame him.
And it's sort of saying something, is that a lot of us are sort of loyal to a certain brand. We've been using it and it's familiar. But in reality, is the technology is so much more advanced now. I think Sony is killing other products. We have to be a little bit less romantic about the way we feel towards another product. And in reality, if you want to elevate your game, it's time to upgrade to Sony. Sony is definitely upped their game and now has provided both professionals and amateurs, because let's be honest, I mean, I know, a few $1,000s doesn't sound cheap, right? But in reality, a few $1,000s for a camera like this that offers as many features as it does is cheap, because now it allows people who are entering into the market as a photographer, as a videographer, they can get gear that rivals the competition in the Sony product.
Oh, absolutely. And one advantage Sony does have is they are a couple of years, to put it broadly, ahead of Nikon, Canon, and other digital camera manufacturers in terms of the mirrorless technology. There's not many manufacturers right now releasing mirrorless cameras with interchangeable lenses.
No, and if mirrorless is the future, and we think it is, we definitely are confident that it is, then that means that Canon and Nike should be scared. They should be like running scared in their boots right now. Because another feature that I like with the mirrorless that the Sony has in this camera right here is it enables us to shoot more dramatic, cinematic theater. We could shoot commercials because there's no noise. There's no noise in this camera at all as we're shooting versus other types of cameras where you've got to factor that in.
That can be attributed, honestly, to the great ISO range that's included in this body. The natural ISO range in this camera can go from 100 to 51,000 and change. I think it was 51,200 to be exact. But in the extended modes, you can go down to as low as 50 ISO to 204,800. So now having that greater ISO sensitivity allows you to bring the ISO up more and more and more, but at reduced noise levels. So it's fantastic job by Sony again.
Yeah, I mean, just go back 15 years, right? Nikon dominated the market, and then all of a sudden, about 10 years ago, Canon came out with the 5D Mark II, right?
Yeah.
And that changed. That was one of those cameras that entered the marketplace and then just turned everything upside down, because here's now a camera that entered the market that can handle video pretty well for the time, right? And it was a lot more affordable, and all of a sudden, it took the world-dominating Nikon off the platform, enters Canon for a while. They've had that platform for a while, and I'm sorry, now it's time for Sony.
With Canon for a very long time.
Yes.
And one of them will release a camera, the other one releases one, and they both, if you actually compare like the D750 to the 5D Mark III or the 5D Mark IV, they're very comparable. They're both very comparable systems. Now, a couple of years ago, Sony comes into the market with a mirrorless camera, and this is all very new to people. I knew a couple of guys that actually went right to it, just kind of like, oh, it's Sony, like Sony's great for other electronics, like I'll give it a shot. And they jumped ship from their current systems, or some of them may have even started on Sony. And I know a lot of guys who were kind of like laughing, like, no, Sony will never, be a professional camera manufacturer, at the level of Nikon and Canon. And now there are people that are just jumping ship, including some of these people that had these views originally to get into a Sony mirrorless camera because they've seen the tons of amazing features, the ability to truly customize your camera experience for yourself. Because I will tell you right now, as great as this camera is out of the box, once you customize some settings, make it your own, program a few shortcut keys and some features such as zebra striping for overexposure. You can add outlining for your focus on the screen, red outlining, and some other different features that can really help you with shooting. It really feels like an extension of yourself, an extension of your vision, and while you do have to think about your composure and so on and so forth, there's less worry. Like you can clearly see, okay, the camera's highlighting, this is overexposed. Like there's no guessing because you're looking through the viewfinder that's reflecting off the mirror and not seeing the final exposure, just basing it off a light meter. You're seeing that actual image in camera, and you can adjust everything on the fly through that electronic viewfinder while you're framing your image. Everything from color balance to, as I said, the exposure to the sharpness to every little thing.
We actually got so excited about this camera that we forgot to continue to open up this present that we have in front of us right here. So I'm going to just take out what also, I wanted to spend some time, talking about the battery actually. Let's see here.
Charger, little new design.
There we go.
Previous models. And
Comes with a little cable there. I'll put this aside. Actually, I put it right over here.
All right, so for anyone familiar with Sony batteries, Craig, can you pass me one of those Sony batteries over there, please? Thank
Nice
you.
catch, nice throw.
For anyone familiar with the Sony batteries of past generation A7 series cameras, as well as, if I'm correct, the A6000 series cameras, this is about typically what you'd get. This is the size of the battery, and I'm sure all of you Sony shooters know that you end up going through batteries very quickly when you're shooting. You know, you're constantly needing to throw one on the charger, pull one back. You know, it's you need a lot of batteries for Sony. That was one drawback about the compactness of the mirrorless camera systems is the battery size was small to account for the compactability.
I can tell you firsthand. I mean, we have 9 batteries for our Sony A7S II. And in a day shoot, we'll go through almost all of that.
Compared to my Nikon, where I could shoot all day and I'll go through one, you know, depending on how many hours I'm shooting, one battery, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And I keep 3 on me typically. But that being said, let's just compare. Old, new. So
you know what they say, bigger is better.
Much bigger battery.
And in this case, it's true. You know, that's the thing about the what Sony did to improve upon the prior model is they really looked at the camera as a whole and addressed a lot of the very, very few shortcomings that the A7S II has.
And this actual battery, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a carryover from the A9. And that's one of the big things is a lot of this camera, while it's an A7 series body, actually has a lot of the features from A9. Actually, the focus system's based off the A9 as well, which is why it has the better autofocus system than R3.
Right.
So it's fantastic. And I mean, I'm sure to do that, they had to rearrange some of the electronics on the inside, but, you know, fantastic job there.
Yeah, so the battery that they use for this new camera is the Sony NP-FZ100. And so think about it, application, real life application. If you're a wedding photographer, right, you want to be able to limit the amount of times that you're going to be changing that battery over. So
every time you change that battery on a shoot is some time you're missing something.
Right, so you know, this is a huge improvement and makes this camera that much more attractive as an option over other types of cameras now because they've improved upon the battery life.
And in the past, people used to fight this by utilizing, and let's just open this up here, a battery grip that would extend into here, would hold 2 batteries typically of the old body.
Makes it bigger,
so
heavier.
Essentially, makes it a little bigger and heavier.
Can't use it on the gimbal then, right?
Did,
on the Zion crane, you wouldn't be able to use it there.
Crane you couldn't. On a Ronin, you could probably get away with it depending on which model it is and the weight limitations. You know, now some people do like the grip to add that ergonomics so you don't have your pinky hanging off. I mean, I have big hands, so I would possibly want to use it sometimes, but that being said, I also like how compact this is as it is. But that being said, now you're getting great battery life, which is 1 battery, and now if you did decide to add a grip, yes, it might be a little heavier than it used to be, but now you're getting even more battery life, and you've really just minimized your downtime.
Yeah, another improvement that they made is the fact that there's 2 memory card slots now.
Yes, that would be right over here, if I'm not mistaken.
That's great. So I mean, for continuous shooting.
Dual memory card slots, which I have on my Nikon D750, and that's one complaint I've always had with the past Sony cameras is they wouldn't have dual memory card slots. They'd have a regular SD card slot, sometimes a micro SD. Or
what's some reasons for the audience maybe that is not currently a professional photographer, they're looking to break into it. Why is it important to have 2 memory card slots?
So 2 reasons. You have 2 options when you're using it, in my opinion. You have expansion, meaning you think you're going to need to shoot more photos, and you have backup. So expansion basically means
redundancy. I'm a big fan of redundancy.
You 64 gig cards in there and have 128 gigs of total storage. And you could have it just shoot as overflow, where it'll keep adding until both are full, or you could have it shoot as backup. And that's the redundancy Rob is referring to, where you will make a copy of the original image that's on card slot 1, going to memory card 1 to memory card 2 as well, so that if one card happens to have some sort of error where something's corrupted, something's not formatted properly, now it's backed up on card 2. And you could do this with where it's a copy of the raw original. You can have it set as a copy of the JPEG. And I mean, I know for myself, when I'm shooting certain events, when I need to have a photo up on a screen of some sort on the fly, but it's something I might want to go back to and edit later, I'll set it to shoot raw plus JPEG, and I'll set the raw to go to slot 1 and the JPEG to go to slot 2. Makes it nice and easy to sort through, and it gives you that flexibility that if you need to throw something up on a TV screen, you know, kind of show people like, hey, like, this is a recap of your event today. I don't have to worry about futzing around in Lightroom with, okay, now I got to download everything, convert everything. Nope. Just download, put it into the folder that's going to be played for the slideshow, and you're off to the races.
So this camera right here, the Sony a7 III, is an incredible camera. I mean, everything that we're seeing so far, everything that we've read, we've had some discussions with other professional photographers as well, and sort of my question is it enough for you to really transfer to this, is to abandon your old gear and upgrade to this? And universally, and I'm not kidding, everyone is saying yes. And that earlier example I gave of my friend, he's a wedding videographer. He's a well-established, highly sought-after wedding videographer, does some really great stuff, and he literally just got rid of all of his Canon gear and is going strictly Sony. So my question to you, Mark, now what kind of gear do you have? What do you?
I shoot all Nikon, mixture of Nikon
right.
lenses, Tamron lenses for Nikon.
So you're a Nikon guy. I know this. We've worked for a while together. You're a Nikon guy. Now, from what you're seeing as a Nikon guy, are you seeing enough for you to maybe now upgrade to the Sony? And I'm using that upgrade because it's almost like a derogatory term to the Nikon, but do you see enough to move from Nikon to Sony?
I honestly think that if you're in the situation where you're financially able to take a little bit of a loss by selling your gear off, because no matter how long you've had your camera, whether it's a month, a year, 3 years, 4 years, you're not going to get what you paid for it right off the bat. If you're in a position where you can take a little bit of a loss, shell out a little bit of money for this camera right here, and also shell out the money to get the equivalent glass that you had, because, you know, for all you professionals out there, I understand, you know, you're going to want that same 24-7 f2.8 or that same prime lens that has the really low aperture, or telephoto that has that f2.8 aperture. If you're in the position where you could make that investment not only in your equipment but in your business, in the technology that allows you to do your business, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't. And if you're not, then I say this: save up, keep Sony in mind, and keep looking out for what they keep releasing every year, every couple of months, because it keeps getting better and better, and Sony keeps setting the standard. So if you can't afford to now, maybe 2 years down the line you can, but I would definitely say that this camera will not only be a great addition to the Sony lineup, but it will also be a great addition to any photographer's arsenal. And this is a camera that I would not be surprised if, despite new models coming out, was still sold new for a couple of years to come with the features it has.
Now, I know this camera is going to be really hard to get. People are going to flock to retailers to pre-order this, to buy this. So if I were you, I would definitely just pre-order it. Even if, let's say, you go to a local retailer or you go online and they're saying it's not going to be available for a month or two, I think it's well worth it. Place your pre-order in. We did it a few months back, and we were fortunate enough to be able to get it the day it dropped, which is great. But maybe in a few episodes later, what we'll do is we'll then dissect. We'll turn it on. We're going to take different pictures. We'll take different videos using two different cameras to really show you guys a side-by-side. But even outside of that, everything that we're reading, everything that we're seeing from this unboxing, my review, definitely 2 thumbs up. I can't wait to start using this for some of the projects I think this is going to be great, again, across the board. If you're a wedding photographer or videographer, I think this is going to be the perfect camera for that application. I think if you're a video marketer, even, I think, which is what I primarily do, is this is perfect because a lot of the shoots that we're doing, we need to be more mobile. We can't bring a lot of gear with us. So instead of maybe bringing a big, bulky Ronin, we're going to be using a smaller Zion crane, and this camera is perfect. It offers all of the features that we're going to need in order to be able to provide an excellent end product. And so for video marketers, especially those who are mobile, this is ideal. I don't see another camera that would rival this right now. So I think video marketing, yes. Wedding photography, absolutely. I think it has applications in almost every single industry right now.
I'm just going to put it quite bluntly. If you are a digital artist, a content creator, this is the new standard for a affordably priced full-frame interchangeable lens camera system.
Thanks for joining us here on the Don't Fear Grit show. I'm your host, Rob Taormina. Today we had Mark Eterno. Thanks for joining me, my friend.
No problem, Rob.
You're the man. And today it was about the Sony a7 III, a great camera. It's definitely going to make its mark on the industry right here. I think people are going to just flock to get this camera. Canon, Nikon, you had your time on that pedestal as the #1. Now it's time for Sony, which is pretty exciting. I'm excited for this camera. I know my friend here, a Nikon guy, he's excited. My friend who's a Canon guy is excited for this.
Nikon, step it up.
Sony, you did a great job. But thanks again, guys, for tuning in to Don't Fear Grit. Tune in next time. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.